Let's go over to the phones and on the line. We will find our friend Dan Conry, former NYPD detective, current radio host. He's combined, the best of both worlds right there. Dan, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. How you doing? Great to be with you.
We're doing great. Thanks for taking time out of your morning for us, Dan. We appreciate that.
Well, it's subject matter, regrettably, I'm far too familiar with, and I wish you all happy holidays during very difficult times for every member of law enforcement in the country. This one cuts to the quick, so I appreciate your talking about this morning. Thank you very much.
We are, we're sickened by it, quite frankly, sickened by the event, sickened by the rhetoric that has led up to it. And tell us, if you can, because you do have the inside look on this, how bad is this division between the cops and the mayor's office?
It is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it. If I go back to Mayor David Dickens, and I was a detective in the narcotics division at the time, we had a very strained relationship. This was not a pro-police mayor. We had our difficult times. I was also a Detectives Endowment Association union representative. I can tell you it was tough. There were strained times, but there were certain civilities and agreements that we always kept in place. To have the rank and file membership from the rank of police officer up to the rank of captain turn their back on the mayor of the city of New York as he walked into a hospital for a press conference. I've never seen anything like it, and I'm glad you said the word rhetoric. I'm not shocked that this assassination took place because this has been boiling for about 3 months between the language of the president, the attorney general, and Mayor de Blasio. This was bound to happen, and I've said it time and time again on my show, and guys, I could tell by your outrage that this was. I know you're not shocked at this. I can just tell. Let me just put it that way.
Right.
I think that's a safe assumption.
Dan Conry with us, former NYPD detective, current radio host in Milwaukee and Madison. It's Riley and Scott here on WROK. For people who hadn't been following this closely, Dan, take us through a little bit of the build-up to this in terms of the deterioration of the relationship between cops and Mayor de Blasio. He's only been in office for a little while, and already it's turned to this, where, again, as you mentioned, literally the New York NYPD officers turning their back on him as he walks into the hospital.
Yep, it's I do believe the rhetoric started primarily with President Obama, Attorney General Holder, when Ferguson melted down. And then you had several other controversial cases across the country, and Mr. Garner clearly was a flashpoint in Staten Island, New York, a couple of months ago, when everybody deemed it the chokehold death, which is, in fact, it was not a chokehold, number one, but that's here nor there. The reality is the mayor himself, who has a biracial son and daughter, made it very, very public and came out to the public and said, number one, the police need to be retrained. And the president used that language last Friday in his final press conference for 2014. Mm-hmm. There's been no literal support for police officers or any law enforcement agency in New York City and across the country, for that matter. And you look at Rockford over the weekend with an incredible homicide. I mean, I'm gobsmacked by what took place in Rockford over the weekend. But the fact is, to tell the media, to tell the city of New York, to tell your constituents that I have to warn my son not to cross the line and not to say certain things with police officers because there's a good chance he might get hurt and might get killed. This is the most unprecedented words I've ever heard come out of the mouth of a mayor of the city of New York. To just completely throw his entire department under the bus. And you look at the behavior, language, and actions of people who are in charge, people who are supposed to be leaders. And to come out and say things like this was bound to happen. It's been boiling. De Blasio is a radical guy. He went and fought with the Sandinistas a couple of decades ago. This is a radical, secular, progressive anarchist. And those are not extreme words. And I sit here concerned with my mom, who lives in Brooklyn on Troy Avenue and Flatbush Avenue, which doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people out there right now, I know. But the fact is, I'm concerned for my mother's safety. And this. My mom said yesterday, she said it best, I haven't felt like this since the 1960s, and I'm not going to leave the apartment for a couple of days. That's a very sad state of affairs in New York City. That
is a really sad state of affairs, and it leads to my next question on with what's going on as far as the mayor's reaction, as we talked about, the president, the attorney general, you got Al Sharpton jumping into the mix and all that. What's the mentality of the cops at this particular point? You got to feel like you're set upon from all sides.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I'm glad you brought up Al Sharpton. For Al Sharpton to have a seat at the table, for Al Sharpton to be sitting next to the Vice President of the United States and have at least 31 visits to the White House, pretty much tells you where this administration is at. And you have to look at the words, the deeds, and the actions of the people you're dealing with and the people in charge. I'm going to tell you quite literally what's going to happen in New York City as far as the membership of the NYPD is concerned. They're going to take a step back. They're going to give the city back to the bad guy for a little bit. I was part of which was one of the most inactive police departments in the country. We literally did nothing in the 1980s. We just reacted. We didn't do anything proactive law enforcement-wise. Rudy Giuliani came in with the very police commissioner we have right now, Bill Bratton. It was an extraordinary turnaround for the city of New York, and it was a proud time. When you have, and how ironic that the two police officers, one was Korean and the other gentleman was Puerto Rican, representing the face of the city, representing the racial makeup of New York like no other department, in my opinion. And the fact is, we're going to take a step back. We're going to be very, very careful. We're still going to serve, and I say we because my heart is still with the department. But everybody's going to do everything to the letter. Everybody's going to do everything according to the patrol guide. And will services be slower to respond? Yes, they will, because there's going to be two-man vehicles responding to every single job that comes over the radio. And if there's a backlog, if there's a slowdown in services, sorry, we're going to do everything by the book right now. And the bad guy's going to prevail for a couple of weeks. And what a sad way to view the city going into the holidays. And I can't imagine being the families of these two cops. Well, I can. I've been through it. I mean, but on a personal level, to look at what they're going through right now and the very courageous language that you heard yesterday from Officer Ramos' family and spokesperson, it's just, I was very impressed, and yet I'm devastated and very, very sad today.
Dan Conry with us, former NYPD detective, current radio host in Milwaukee and Madison. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. Now, I thought I heard Fox News Radio late last night saying an alert about another threat. Guy from Tennessee had posted something on Instagram saying he was headed to New York to kill more cops. Now, you kind of touched on this a bit, but, you know, at the end of the day, police officers at NYPD go home alive, go home safe. And there was a note over the weekend, two patrol cars for every call, no arrests unless absolutely necessary. Those are the kind of steps that you were outlining, that's what's going to change, at least short term, in New York.
And that's going to, you're going to see a dramatic increase in crime. The bad guy is paying attention to this. The bad guy is waiting on high to get back to work, for lack of a better phrase here. But that note you read, by the way, was sent out by the PBA, the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, which is the representative union of police officers, and that went viral. But let's go back prior to that letter coming out. Let's go back to 35,000-man police department filling out a form. Every rank of police officer damn near every police officer filled out a form that said, I do not want the mayor of the city of New York to attend my funeral if I'm killed in the line of duty. Think about that, and think about the impact that really has. This is when we say blood on our hands. A lot of people are going to roll their eyes and say this is rhetoric. I'm sorry. You looked at words, actions, and deeds, and you pay attention. This country's upside down right now as far as a radical anarchist leadership at the top of the Democrat Party, and you know, I'm a conservative. I don't lie about that. But the fact is, I'm an old former Northeast liberal who saw the light after a few years of police work.
Is there anything, Dan, that de Blasio can do at this point to? I know you can't heal it, but you know, at least put a butterfly bandage on what's going on here.
He has to have a conversation, and not in front of the cameras. Not in front of his constituents, not in front of his fellow radicals. He needs to sit down with the PBA, the DEA, and every representative union and apologize for his words and apologize for his deeds. And I know arrogance and hubris is not going to allow that to happen. That would be like asking President Obama, who condemned a Cambridge police officer 6 years ago, and those words landed on Brooklyn, New York over the weekend, Saturday afternoon. They need to apologize. The Attorney General, who sits there and complains about being treated poorly, and the President being treated poorly, and that we're cowards about the conversations of race, I agree with him. We need to have that conversation, and all the facts and all the truth needs to come out, and we need to come forward with a positive message. But once again, arrogance, ignorance, and hubris will win the day with this crowd, but they need to apologize. That's the point they're at right now. I'm sorry, we were wrong, and we supported what was a homicidal maniac's mission. And at the end of the day, their word and their deeds certainly supported that young man coming up from Baltimore. And there's been a lot more threats, by the way, and there's a lot more minor incidents that I could tell you about. But cops deal with this every day, from Rockford to Madison to Milwaukee to L.A. and New York. This goes on every day, and it's a thankless position, but they love their job, and they're great professionals across the country, and I thank them every day.
And Dan, we thank you, obviously taking time out of your day, a highly emotional topic, and you are our go-to guy on this one. We really appreciate it.
Gentlemen, as tough as it is to say, I wish you both very happy holidays, and I hope 2015 is a lot better by a damn sight. So I pray for that.
And for you as well. Merry Christmas to you and your family, Dan.
Merry Christmas, guys. Thank you so much.